And we are live. Hello, everybody, and
Hey,
welcome.
everybody.
Yeah, look who I
Hello,
have here with me
hello.
today. I have beautiful Dr. Ann from New
Thank you.
Zealand,
Hey,
and
everybody.
we're happy to have her here today. She and I have been trying for months, I guess, probably since at least Christmas or before Christmas, right? Was
I
it
don't know.
that long
Yeah.
ago that we
Who
just
knows?
had one thing after another, and so did both of us. And of course, there's a time difference, and so coordinating that and other things in our lives. So anyway, I'm just glad we're here. I'm glad we're here.
Me
Thank you
too.
so much
Me
for
too. And life has a way of have you ever noticed how life has a way of weaving humans in and out of your life depending on the time and need? But we're always there, and we could always let a long amount of time pass without us
Yes. Yeah.
coming together, Allie. And I know it's always going to be amazing, so I'm very
Yeah.
grateful.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's very
Sherry,
true. That's very
Teresa.
true. So hello, Anja, Janet, and Jeff, and Teresa, and Sherry. It's good to see you. It's great to have you here. Thanks for being here with us. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's actually a definition of a friendship, which is that some people come into your life for a reason, for a season, or for a lifetime.
Yeah,
And if you've got somebody that you don't have to talk to all the time, that you just know the other one is really busy, but you keep that connection going. It's rare though. There aren't a lot of people that can do that. There's something about that that doesn't always work. So thank you for being
that's
that
right.
person. I appreciate.
Oh,
I
and ditto.
appreciate it.
I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
So
goody.
Michelle and Wiki and Jay are here, and so yeah, welcome. Thank you so much. And yes, and tonight it would be remiss for me not to mention that Sherry is on, everybody, on Voices from the Swamp. She does a nighttime thing in her jammies. So run by and check her out if you're awake. It's
For
a
the
lot of
night
fun.
owls in the
The night
group.
owl. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Isn't that a song that's by one of something about da 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 the night owls? I can't think of, and it was in the 80s, so I can't think of
Okay,
who.
don't know, but
Little
I'm sure it's
River
cool.
Band. It was Little
Oh,
River
okay.
Band. Little River
Okay,
Band.
cool.
Yep, yep.
Nice.
Anyway,
Nice.
yep. Hi,
Very
Mary.
cool.
Hi, Val. Nice to see
Hey.
you. Um, yeah, we're happy to have you
Welcome,
all here
welcome.
today. So yeah. So there's a lot of different things Anne and I would like to talk about, but I would like to start it off with I'm just going to bring this up because to me it's crazy. But Dr. Ann can give us some clarity on AI, which is coming and influencing every one of us, whether we know it or not. And so, hi,
Yep.
Prince Charming's mom. Hi, honey.
Hey.
Um, so I heard Elon Musk say, or I didn't hear him, I saw it written, that AI will take all of our jobs away from us eventually, and that we will need a universal monetary, like a social security for all of us because we won't be making any money. And, you know, I don't care for him anyway, but it's like, it,
Mm.
the things
Look,
that
we
come
all
out of
have.
that man's mouth.
Well,
Yeah.
he's got a world stage because he's a futurist. He's a future thinker. He's done a lot of stuff that's made a lot of people a lot of money, and because he's a unique
Uh-huh.
thinker, which is awesome. Good for him. But
Yep.
he also has, in my view, when you're at that level, you've got a social responsibility.
Yeah, you
Um,
do.
this is
Mhm.
my view, and things that you say and do, people react to it whether you like it or not.
Mhm.
In terms of everybody will take AI, maybe 500 years from now. I don't know. I mean, he knows how rapidly it changes, but
Yeah.
look,
Yeah.
let's pull it back a little bit. Let's just pull back and see
Absolutely.
let's look at the concrete about what's happening now versus,
Good.
yes,
So,
exponential
yes.
rates of change. Okay. Um, I'm just letting
Yeah.
you all know as many of you know, I'm an academic. So part of my job now is actually I'm on this little team within my greater team to look at how we're using AI as a university. How can we advise staff to use it in their classrooms, and I'm one like, okay, it's
Uh-huh.
another tool in the toolkit. It still doesn't
Correct.
take it doesn't take away from the basics of any learning, any subject, such as logic, argumentation, and reasoning. You need to have those skills
Yeah.
foundationally, and then apply whatever your subject matter expertise is going to be. Right, you're going to have to learn some of
Right.
that to be able to be employable in that field when you move forward. Right. So
Mhm.
I'm looking at it from an educational viewpoint. There are other viewpoints to look at it from, like the whole machine learning, machine side of things. More often than not, all that funding is for military purposes and for making money and business purposes, right? I mean, academia is usually
Yep.
the last stop on the bus, but
The
I'm
last
looking at
one.
it in
Yeah.
terms of humanity, right? And humanity, as
Yep.
we are humans, and the thing that I'm most fascinated with, Ellie, and I think we're saying this earlier, is it's causing us to question our relationship with technology and our kind of stance as humanity as a whole. Because I think traditionally humans have always thought they were in control of the world. They could control things. They
Uh-huh.
could build dams. They could build computers, and we're in charge. And
That's right.
this
Yeah.
shatters all that questioning because it's learning. And I guarantee you, if I went into AI right now, it's smarter than me.
Well, it collects data from every single
Well,
corner of the
yeah.
world. Sure. And
I mean,
I
what a
love what
brain,
Valerie
right?
says. Valerie says it's
Yeah.
programmed by heart-centered and soul-centered humans. It's so at this
Yeah.
point, the people are trying to
Yeah.
bring it in as a kind of uh, way to get us to be more empathic, perhaps, or more
Mhm.
compassionate. Depending on who's doing the it's this not Dr. Evil.
Right, and
So
and the thing
yeah,
is
yeah,
that's why I encourage all people, like, in our community to use it. Now let's step back a little bit. So there's artificial intelligence, kinda happy robot stuff, which is where you go into, like your telephone company, and then it's got a little chat bot, and it says, "Oh, I can answer your questions now live online, la, 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 la." That's a happy robot, right? And it's been programmed to
yeah.
do that. Artificial general intelligence, which covers everything that we know. Okay, from public AI, which is like our large language modeling. So that's Chat
Uh-huh.
GPT. There's another one
Mhm.
called Claude. There's another one called Bard, which used to be the one that's the Google one. All
Oh,
right. So,
okay, I
and
remember
there's
Bart. Yep.
one from
Mhm.
Microsoft. There's a new one. What's it called? Somebody will know. That is only used in Microsoft Edge unless you buy it. There's another. So it's the Wild
Okay.
West landscape of this stuff. Okay. But at the core of it all, what it is, these large language modeling things that people are using, depending on, the ones you use, they can generate really cool images from
Mhm.
sentences you give it, and or they can just give you information. So what they are, step back, is they they mean the programmers of whatever company. So for Chat GPT, they created this engine called Transformer, which what it does is it's an engine that learns how to learn. Then the company
Mhm.
buys multiple data sets, like from GitHub, from all these, like Google. They buy these data sets from the internet, like so they and it, what it does is it takes that aggregate information and it learns from it. Then
Mhm.
on top of it, it's been so it sat for a while from 2017 to 20 whatever it was when it was released and was learning. Then it learns on
Mhm.
top of what we give it from our questions, okay? So it's learning
Mhm.
from these aggregate areas of data. So, okay, cool, right? Well, the question comes
Yeah.
in, okay, what about cheating at school? What about, does it make you work
Yeah.
better and faster and whatnot? So I went to this thing at Stanford University. They do all these webinars and stuff. It says,
Mhm.
and this is a sterling statistic from their HAI index. So basically, they do a survey of everything AI all year long based on data vendors who sell their data to these people who program the programs like Chat and Claude and all that. They go to
Mhm.
academics who write articles, they go through all that, and they say that AI and businesses improves productivity by 73% in the workplace.
Is that because people don't have to think about trying something that's new to them, that they have to have, like a learning curve on, and now they're able to go and get that learning curve shortened? would you say?
Yeah. So, for
Yeah.
example, my job, I teach and I create instructional material. So you can grab an AI that generates a video of how to do things. You just give it a strict script with my
Mhm.
picture, and it will emulate my picture and voice within 10 minutes. Okay. Then I can go ahead and write a lesson plan and put it in the chat GPT, and it'll spit it out with learning objectives and outcomes. So as a teacher, there's tests at the end, right? So you have these outcomes of how
Yeah.
what you take a learning journey students through, and then they take a test, multiple assessments within the courses they're learning, right? And
Yeah.
then at the end of the course, they will have learned something. So I would design all that, and Chat GPT can generate all that like that.
Uh-huh.
The only problem with Chat GPT is it's not a subject matter expert.
That's right. No, you're absolutely. And here's the deal. If somebody
Yeah.
says, if they're writing a paper for me and they have really good information, but they don't know where it came from because it was put in by this, AI, then they can't use it. As far as I'm concerned, they have to have the citation. You can't put Chat GPT as the citation.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is, why don't you use it as an idea
Okay.
generation thing for students? So it's great for ideas. I use it all the time.
No, I
but
agree
you
with
have to
that.
cite
Yeah.
it when you use it. Also, what about interviewing, taking the 3 different engines and putting in the same question and getting different? You get 3 different answers back, and which one's the best answer and why?
Uh-huh.
Compare them.
Well,
So there are different
I
ways.
have that here
Yeah.
in YouTube where I not in street
Yeah.
this company, and they help me with titles that will grab
Yeah.
people's attention. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which
I
is
think
fantastic. So
yeah.
you could use it for your community, to aid your community, or we could
Yeah.
go in and
Okay.
use it. So there's a lot of possibility with it. But I'd say, hold fire, Elon. Just hold your horses.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes, I can
Hold your
see as a
horses.
futurist, but remember the rest of humanity needs to come along on this journey too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some institutions are slow to change, like educational institutions. So what does Sherry say? I had one faculty share that he thought paper looked familiar. Yeah, turns out it was professors from 20 years ago. Yeah, see, exactly.
Well,
Good
and the other
Lord.
thing, there was just something recent about using Scarlett Johansson's voice from another
Yes.
movie. And yeah, have you heard about
Yes.
that one?
They
Yeah,
called
yeah.
it she. They called it
She,
she or her or something.
her.
And
Yeah.
yeah, they actually emulated it. And so she stopped it. So the guy, Sam Altman, took it off of Chat GPT. He's the head of Chat,
Oh,
and he
okay.
took it off. So there are heaps of breaches
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
intellectual property, copyright. So it's up to us
Absolutely.
to double check that it's not hallucinating. Okay, that's an actual term that the
Mhm.
people in Silicon Valley use, which means it's not providing answers for answer's sakes without actually having them contextualized and proper resources. So
Mhm.
so
Okay.
it knows it has to give you an answer, but the answer might be wrong. So here's a good example. Being,
Okay.
I'm a researcher. There's another researcher with my
Right.
name in Sydney, Australia, right? So I asked about
Oh,
me. I'm like, so what do you know about the research of me? It combined her research with mine in the result.
yep.
And I said, actually, I went back to it. I said, actually, you're wrong. Those are 2 different people. Can you please clarify? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. This is okay. A computer program apologizing to me for getting the query wrong. It was just I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. I'm like, da, da,
I
da, da,
bet
da, da.
you did.
I'm
I
like,
bet you did. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
but
yeah.
so it's up to us again, those foundational skills. And what they found in this thing from Stanford AI, there's 2 areas where it's deficient. One is in those
Okay.
significant mathematical computational areas. I'm sorry, but I'm not that human, but
Ooh.
good for you guys. And then the
Yeah.
second one
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
reasoning. It still hallucinates with reasoning and also providing the wrong
Well, it
resources.
doesn't have
But yeah,
and it also doesn't have a conscience
yeah.
or, I mean, you can program a certain amount of that, I imagine, but it doesn't have the human, feeling of lying, and it doesn't have any guilt, does it? I mean, it doesn't have guilt.
Yeah, well, how do I know it's gonna make the right decisions for me in the
Right,
future?
right. Well, you know what I think is really, if you ever I didn't watch the whole thing, but I know 2000, what was it, 2000 A Space Odyssey, or
Oh yeah, I
and
love that one.
the
Yeah.
guy Hal takes over the whole ship and
Yes.
says goodbye and
Yes.
everything. That's where people come in to be a little bit freaked out, I think. So,
Well, and
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with having a critical lens at viewing this stuff
No, no,
through.
true that. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
I and right now, remember, there's so many tools. Remember, there are so many browsers like Google.
Yeah.
Besides Google and Safari, there were truckloads of other ones, and then they all kind of died out. So we're kind of in that
Yeah.
space with all the. Remember, and AI tools are not all-in-one tools. So there are ones that are specific to image generation sometimes, or specific to creating an ebook for marketing purposes, specific for affiliate marketer. Okay, so it's like these little
Mhm.
apps everywhere that you can do. So when you buy an account to Chat GPT, it gives you, and the landing page is like a bunch of tiles, all these different tools that it aids you with that are AI generated. Okay,
Yep. Yep.
so they will eventually all become one. So you're just on a blank screen with one thing, and it'll be able to produce a brand new website with you with a avatar video
Wow.
introducing your web page, so that's where it's going, kind of thing. Yep, I've been watching for a
Oh,
few minutes. What does that?
wow.
Why do I look weird? Because I've got thanks for asking, Granny. I've got a I do look weird. Good on you. As we say, I live in New Zealand, so I've got a picture behind me because my house is a complete mess, and there's a bookshelf behind me, and I don't really want everybody to
It's a
yell
way to
about it.
hide the kitchen.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And the people that, I might have a
And the
person come
people
out of my
walking
head that
randomly
just
back
really
there.
wants
Yeah,
to.
that's true. Uh-huh. Oh,
So I apologize. I'll
no,
organize it better next time.
that's awesome.
Um,
Thank you, Granny.
yeah.
Anya watched a video from two young teachers lamenting the fact that they've got
Oh,
high school seniors who are reading at a fourth grade level. I say too much screen time and verbal shortcuts. Thank you, dear. I'll take that one. Thank you. And so this is a very important thing. In 2000, Anya, I was in Kentucky, and I was hired by a community college to teach fourth grade reading to college students. So
oh
this
God.
hasn't changed. And, we'd like to think, oh, I know Sherry, her house is not a complete mess. She just wants to make sure that anyway.
Like,
Um, but I remember thinking to myself, how can these people exist and these people vote. These people are supposed to have jobs. And there's no critical thinking skills. Thank you, Anya. That's it. They don't know how to do that. And I think there might be a fear from some people that if they have something that does it for them, then they don't have to learn. So maybe you could address that idea too, if you wouldn't mind. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So, even before computers, it was always okay. We want concerned, educated. Even the United States was founded on the fact that people would be educated enough to be able to read and form their own opinions. One could arguably
Uh-huh.
say, right? I mean, I don't know if the founding
Mhm.
fathers and women of the time would actually say that, but and instead of being provided the content here on the screen and you're listening and taking that in, instead of looking at with a critical lens, or a newspaper with a critical lens, or so foundational to critical thinking, Anya, is logic, argumentation, and reasoning, and being able in critical thinking courses, and I've seen them, they're really fascinating. Being able to
Mhm.
take a viewpoint, whether or not you agree with it,
Yep.
and argue for or against it,
Yes.
divorce of your opinion. That's all we're asking. And there's
Right.
some schools of thought that are trying to implement that at grammar school level, and it's called
Mhm.
dialogic education,
Mhm.
is a school of
Mhm.
thought that I'm heavily involved in. And they're yeah, it's a big push at Cambridge University in the UK, and it's across the UK at the moment. It's a big thing. Education is really political, if you
Yeah.
haven't figured that out, and there's
Yeah.
always something wrong with it,
That's
and there's
true.
always something wrong with the teachers, and
Yeah.
there's always something wrong with the students. Yes, and yes, and yes, and it's a very complex woven basket. They call it a
Yeah.
kete here in New Zealand. Very woven, very intricate, and very interrelated. But I do think that if we focus on logic, argumentation, and reasoning, that things can be built on top of that. Whatever even if you're a
Yeah.
mechanical engineer, for your final
Mhm.
project, explain the problems that you had developing this thing. How did you
Mhm.
overcome it, and how did you fix it, and why did
Yeah.
you make that choice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just
Mm.
wanna say hi to everybody that came in, but
Hey, hey,
reading
hey.
is reading is very important on you, and that's the parents' fault to me. It's like if you model reading in your home, because you read and you're excited about books and you're excited or whatever, the Kindle, it
Yes.
doesn't matter. Then it brings the child more involved into something like that. But I will
Mm.
tell you, in my English 101 class, I have my students write a paper about a topic, and they're to pick, they have to go through opposing viewpoints, which is a critical thinking place where there's
Yes.
opposing viewpoints.
Mm.
And they have to go in and they have to find 3 points to argue for their side of the viewpoint. And then
Mm.
before they're finished with the paper, they have to do the counter argument. And they have to say, "This is why I don't believe the counter argument works." And this, in other words, they're trying to defend their argument. And I had one guy, and he went in and he did his paper on, I think he was doing it on, um, uh, minimum wage. It was a number of years ago. And or taxes, one or the other. And he came back when he was done and he said, "I really, really agreed that it should have been this way, but the minute I started researching it, there was so much evidence that that wasn't a good idea." And so that's part of the whole thing that we can bring to these kids in order for them to even do it, because they don't read newspapers, they maybe watch Fox News, or they may get their news off Yahoo, and so
Yes,
they're not getting it. Yeah, they're just not getting it. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. And when they're young, I mean, if you have grandchildren or really young people in your home, um, or children, young children, get them to think what it's like to be in the other person's shoes first,
Yeah.
because that's a
Uh-huh.
beginning step.
Definitely.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
Sherry's statement here. First
Yeah.
semester back, I took
Some
students under
people
30 would
couldn't.
read.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God,
Yeah,
really?
I know. This is scary,
What is that?
and it really
Yeah.
is scary, and yet then there also some education is trying to take away the professor was always able to have their own not opinion, because I think we need balance, but their intellectualism, their earning of their degree was supposed to mean they had autonomy to a certain degree. But now they're telling us what books to read, and they're actually in the online classes. They tell me what they have to read, and all they want me to do is respond to it. Where's my education taken me? It's really crazy. It just
Yeah, well,
is
that's
crazy. Yeah.
I'm just writing a statement here because critical thinking is much different than cancel culture. And cancel culture
True.
is there's no tolerance, and in the lack of tolerance there's no willingness to even consider the other side. So it just stops you at the outset without
Yeah,
even giving the opposition, and
that's
it could be
true.
multiple oppositions, a chance to figure it out, right? So
Right. Yeah.
and I don't know how that became a popular thing, which is very worrisome,
Well, it's
but
like
it
in
is.
Florida, they have the
Mm,
don't say gay law. You're not allowed to say gay.
mm.
That's crazy to me. I just, and people signed that into legislation. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, Diane, I agree. Cancel culture is really
Yes,
frightening. So
Diane.
what we can do is we can be examples of trying to be open to other. Don't take on the world,
Yes.
okay? Because that's
Yeah.
too
You
voluminous.
have to
But in
pick
your
your
own
battles.
personal
Yeah, you have
sphere,
to.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, and I have a friend who regularly comes over and likes to discuss politics with me. especially
Oh,
American politics, because I'm the American in New Zealand, one of his friends, right? So I
right.
live in New
That's
Zealand,
right.
he's the president.
The token
So
girl.
so he likes to come and, like, hammer down points, and we always have these robust discussions, but we always agree to disagree at the end of it all, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
agree
that's
to
the way it should
agree,
be.
depending on whatever
That's
it is. Yeah,
that's the way it should be.
yeah.
Absolutely. It's the way it always, yeah. When they grow up
Greg
not reading the yes,
Greg's
that's
comment.
true, Greg. I
Oh,
have to
dear.
tell you, I just saw a
Mm,
clip. There's a libertarian conference, and of course, it's not Democrat, it's not Republican, it's libertarian, so it's in the middle.
mhm.
And somebody got up to say something about the Orange Man, and they wouldn't let her talk or him talk. And finally, he said, "All I want to say is this is the Libertarian Party. We're not Republican. We're not the GOP. So f Donald Trump." And he said it right out.
Wow. But there you
So yeah,
go.
I know. Yeah,
But people
yeah,
can get so cancelly, so it's for
yeah.
me, my personal when it gets to real core beliefs, I'm very reticent to share with the whole world what
I
that is. I
understand.
mean, there's some beautiful people out there doing tarot channels and being open
Mhm.
and honest about their beliefs and opinions. For me, I just say, okay, right, from the academic perspective, what kind of articles can I find that say something? What are the
Yeah,
opposite? Where's my interpretation of it, and this is what I found, but I try to stay away
sure.
from politics. I try to think about universal topics that because there's enough people doing the
Yeah,
political stuff too. I want some people to think about them
true
and the
that.
greater
Yeah.
universal peace. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So
No,
AI
it
and
is, and
Elon. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank
So
you. I think
mm,
it is an ongoing topic with a lot of shifting, and as you know, because you're right in the middle of the research, and so it's wonderful that we have you and you're able to let us know what's going on with it. And so thank you
yeah.
for letting people know more about it. Um,
Yeah, for
I I
sure.
I wanna next talk a little bit more about UFO activity, and of course, you've got the
Excellent.
lenticular cloud behind you.
Oh,
And they are, those clouds, have been associated with hiding UFO
yep.
activity. So,
Yep.
so I
Mm.
love it, I love it, I love it.
Well, I am an
So
experiencer for people who may or may not know what that
mhm,
is. I'm kind of coming out right now to you all as an experiencer. I've experienced things that are non-terrarian, non-earth based.
okay.
but
Yep,
but
yep, get
but
it.
the thing about the UFO activity is, I mean, come on, people, look at the statistics. Think about the galaxy. Think about the solar systems and galaxies, thousands and thousands and thousands, and millions of them. Surely the likelihood
Yeah,
something more than bacteria will exist on them. Just saying, you know.
yeah.
I
That's
mean,
fair. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah. No,
if you want to look at
absolutely.
statistically based models, go look at those.
Yeah.
And
Yep, that's
I'm
true.
sorry, but as humans, we can't think we're at the top of the food chain in terms of us being in
No,
charge of our world. There's got to be
no,
more to it than that, in
no,
my
it's
personal
no,
viewpoint.
no, I
Yeah,
totally get it. And so for me,
yeah.
I was not more than 10 years old when I had my first experience. I wasn't taken
Cool.
up on the thing or anything, but my friend and I went down the street to get some ice cream cones, and on the way
Mm.
back, we lived at the top of the hill. And
Oh,
she and
cool.
I are, just walking up there, having a great time. And this thing comes up over our heads. And silent is silent, dead silent, but lights, big lights. And it just went
Cool.
and came over our
Yep.
heads and went down behind the church. And we looked at each other and we said, "Did we just see that?" You know? And to this day, she is not a
That's so
metaphysical
cool.
person whatsoever, but she says, "Remember when we saw the UFO?"
Mm-hmm.
She knew that. And so it must
Yep.
be that, they present themselves to those of us early enough that we can be sort of a believer, I guess. And I've always been them. Oh, you've seen them too, Hypnicity? Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I just
so
saw my
wonderful.
most recent one was with the aurora borealis you guys have. We have an aurora
Yes.
australis down in the southern hemisphere. So with the
Okay.
naked eye, the sky was pink, light like a pink
Oh, beautiful.
tinge
Yep, yep, yep.
for us because we're so if you look at New Zealand, there's two big islands, right? So I'm on the North Island, and the
Yeah.
further south you go, a lot of people go from the South Island to go to Antarctica. Okay, so cold.
Yeah.
And
Yes. No, a
imagine
tourist
cold,
trap.
icy. Yeah, we live with penguins here. Okay, we got little blue penguins that live out
Mhm.
in the bays, and anyway, so it
Mhm.
gives you an idea of cold.
Mhm.
Anyway, so if you change the filter on your camera, it the sky, the nights, it was pink, totally bright pink, and so it would sprinkle. We can see the Milky Way galaxy from the southern hemisphere. You can't see it
Oh,
from the northern hemisphere, so we
okay.
could see the. It was absolutely like wow. I mean, all I
Oh
wanted to do was
my.
stand outside and go, "Oh my
Sure.
gosh, wow, wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow!" My husband was fresh out of surgery on his knee. I'm like, "Come out here and see this right now because it's
It's
a
a
once
once
in a
in a
lifetime. I
lifetime.
don't
I
care if
know.
it hurts you."
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
um,
Yeah.
but while that was there, I looked up and the light that was on went out. I'm like, hi, 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 like a little school kid. Ah, look at
Like,
me, I'm here.
yeah, well, I'm right here. I'm right here. How you
Get so excited. I get so
doing?
excited. I'm a simpleton in that regard, I guess. But anyway, yeah, it
Uh-huh.
was really,
It's
really
okay.
cool. And I've had lots of experiences like that. But obviously when I meditate, I've got guides. I've been taken places when I meditate. And so for me, it's
Mhm.
just like, this is so cool. And
Yeah.
oh, and the
Yeah.
increased, didn't you say, Aley, or did I read somewhere that there were increased sightings for UFOs
Oh, yeah.
during the solar, whatever it was,
Yeah, the
blankets
solar
that hit
eclipse
us?
and yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and all
There,
that.
there was one scene in Japan, on the 11th of May, and it was
Oh, wow.
actually in the sky, you saw all these lights, and then they had these have you ever seen one of those things when there's a sale somewhere and they had the lights outside going like this?
Yes, we have that
"Come
right
over to
now where
this
we live.
Ford dealership." Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, these are coming straight down like columns, but all
Cool.
across the sky. And a lot of people are feeling it that I've talked to in some of the shows I've done, that are in tune and tapped into the UFO community, and it's amazing. I mean, it's just, um,
I
and
think
I was telling everybody that, there's a thing called, I think it's on Amazon Prime, and it's called 411, and it's about hunters who have shared their experiences, when they're
that's
out
so cool.
hunting or they've been completely lost, and so they have been relocated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
relocated. Yeah, there's just so
yeah.
many things, even out here in the middle of the Pacific. So
Uh-huh.
there's a lot. There have been heaps of sightings, and even in Australia, which is a lot of people think Australia is close to New Zealand. No, it's like a 3-hour flight to get to Melbourne or 4 hours to get to Sydney from here on an airplane. So it gives you an idea. It's not. There's no bridge in between the two.
Mhm.
Let's put it that way. So
Okay.
it
Yeah.
looks close on the map, but it's not.
It's not.
But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of activity, and I think I was watching somebody who said it's just more are coming in now because of all the significant changes that are happening in
Yes.
this period
Yeah.
and the ascension
And that
process
we
we're going
believe in
through.
them now. Yeah, a lot more people
Yes.
believe in them. But you know what I
Yeah.
heard, and this is down in your area, and I know it's not close to you, but it's down in the Southern Hemisphere. They're saying that a
Mm.
lot of them are staying underwater, that they have a huge community in the Mariana Trench.
I believe it. That's because we can't get down there, and that's so many miles down. I mean,
That's
it's
true.
huge. I can't even
Uh-huh.
imagine.
Yeah,
And the animals and the things down there that
I
exist
know.
would be
Yeah,
amazing. But,
I know.
I I think over time, don't they predict that they're gonna be coming out in the next Sterling, Psychic Medium, and some of the
Couple of
others out
them.
there
Yeah,
say
in
that they're getting
25 and
ready to.
26. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
How
That's
cool
right.
would that
That's
be?
right.
And they'll start with people that look like us or contrarians that look like us,
Mm,
and then they'll slowly
mhm.
segue or move into the ones that are traditional,
Oh,
different
otter
looking. Let's
looking.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like the Star
let's see.
Wars, place, bar. Remember the Star Wars bar with
Yeah,
all
do,
the
do, do, do,
weird
do, do,
wacky
do,
looking.
yeah. That will
Oh
be
god,
normal
that's
one
funny.
day, and we're gonna be going like, "We told you so." They
Yeah.
were saying,
Yep, that's right. Yes, Nolani, they do
Yep.
have,
Mm,
subterranean colonies. There's a lot of them that are, the
mm.
military have seen come up out of the water and then and they're gone. You can't even see them. They're saying that some of these, it has nothing to do with like power. It has to do with bending time or bending dimensional stuff that they can go
Yes.
wherever they come from.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you
Yeah.
guys something because I think it helps explain things really well. And because, like
Okay.
you, Allie, I'm a teacher. So here's a piece of
Yeah.
paper I just tore out of my notebook. All right. So consider this a point in
Mhm.
time and space, right, everybody? So you got your space. This is just one linear plane of space. We know space is kind of like a cube, right? So so I'm going
Right.
to introduce a mass. So it's a little rock stone in here. As soon as I
Okay.
put it in there, it bends time and space, right? So what they do with the
Mhm.
matter of space is they create like they don't puncture a hole, but they mathematically bend it so it's closer. So traditionally, these 2
Oh,
points,
wow.
oops, there goes my rock. These 2 points
Uh-huh.
that were far away are
Come
bent and
together.
they're
Oh,
closer. So that's what they do in the quantum when they're doing quantum tunneling. So in front of the spacecraft, they're able to bend time and space and move through it without resistance, even in water without resistance. That's the way I understand it. I'm not sure. I mean,
okay.
I'm just a lay
Yeah.
person, but
Right,
and I'm
I
not
know,
a
I know.
physicist, but
Yeah,
that's what the quantum does when it bends space. So remember, that's a
that's
point in time.
amazing.
Remember,
Sure.
space is around us like a cube. So that's why they say implanted right here next to us are our passed over loved ones, or that spirit that didn't leave the
Yes.
house, or that elemental that comes in and out of us, the fairy that we can and can't see,
Mhm.
or the
Right.
angels that come in. So there's a
Mhm.
nexus between our
Mhm.
3D world and the quantum and the remainder. So that's what we're doing when we meditate. We're activating that part of our frontal cortex here in our brain. And I actually saw neuroscientists discuss this somewhere on the YouTube the other day. I was like, yes,
Oh,
science. There's a way that actually proves it. So that third eye
wow.
right there, in
Yep.
that part which activates your pineal gland, all that
Right.
area is actually proven that it connects with the beyond 3D realm. It's actually been proven. So yeah, really, really cool. Yep, Diane, like a wormhole.
Yeah. Yep.
So this could be
Yep.
a dead star. This is actually my tetrahedron, which is sacred
Oh,
geometry.
yes.
We could talk
Yep.
about, but let's pretend that's the black hole. So that's got energy and it's pulling stuff in, so it bends space and time too. So it could be whatever that thing is, whatever they're doing with the
Yep.
quantum. Yeah. So that's your little
Okay.
physics for you for today,
Wow, wow, wow.
without getting
Wow,
into the
wow, wow.
mathematical parts.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's for the layperson. That's perfect. It's perfect. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
So
Yeah.
Anya, your friend just came back from New Mexico. She and her friend saw a ship, not your usual. One moment they were driving south, and the next moment they were way north of Santa Fe.
Wow.
Missing time. Missing time. Yeah. Um, I wonder if they would be amenable. I can't do it, of course, but I wonder if they'd be amenable to being hypnotized, because it's very possible that maybe they had an encounter with somebody, because that's missing. I mean, I always say it's very possible missing. How about missing time? Because I'll be somewhere and I'll be tired, but I know I got to go home, and it's like my higher self drives me home, and I get home and I'm like, how did I get here? I'm so tired. But in
Yeah.
this
Or
case,
yeah.
going
Yeah.
one way and then going the other way, that's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it is.
amazing.
But remember, I think too, this is what I understand from okay, so the US government and other governments
Wow.
have covert secret programs, right? And what I
Yeah,
understand is not only are there satellites looking on Earth to help us with like geolocation, like GPS and all that stuff, but there are satellites looking out to see what's coming in, apparently. Obviously,
yeah,
like asteroids,
yeah,
and then you got the ones like James Webb, which is way off in the distance
yeah.
and going to
I
travel
love
for
that
years to
though.
come. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so remember, because of this network around the Earth, things physically coming in, we're highly protected. I don't know
Mhm.
who or what, it's just, so we're highly protected, so physical manifestations are really hard, and they're fleeting, and I think they're done quickly, so A, we don't freak out too much, but B, so they don't get caught, so to speak, by the other
Yeah.
actors out there, and
Yeah.
so it's going to be
It's very
super
true.
quick. So if they come to you with your meditation, that's different because it's a different realm. It's a non 3D, and that's
Sure.
okay. That's not traceable. That's you and your connection with whomever or whatever you're looking at.
Whomever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, and this is
Mm,
so true, Celtic Seer, that, and
mm,
they did this apparently, I heard somewhere that they came to us, was it during World War II after Hiroshima, and they said, "We can't allow this to ever happen again." And they,
mm.
there's been bombs that have been unable to reach their target, so to speak. Yeah, I wish they would hurry up too. Yeah. Oh, she did see them, Anya. She called them brats. Okay.
Like the doll. I
Wow.
don't know if you guys remember the doll. That was a big thing when my daughter was little. They're Bratz dolls. Sorry, I'm picking up
Uh-huh.
my rock that I
I
dropped.
remember that.
Um,
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
anyway,
she's done all the
yeah,
Dolores Cannon books. Dolores Cannon books are wonderful. Yeah, they are,
yeah.
if you ever get a chance. Yeah, they're
Mm.
they're beautiful books. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
QHHT hypnosis is really
Uh-huh.
cool, which is her method. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So quantum healing
Wow.
hypnosis, something.
Mhm.
And we go out
Yeah,
and look at people and wonder who knows and how we.
yeah, and how we can relate to them
Angel,
not
I'm
knowing.
reading your point and how we
Mhm.
relate to them. Yeah. Mm. Well, I think remember the rest of the world. We're a very small community that's quite enlightened, dare I say. I'm not saying enlightenment is a better than thing. It's just different. We
Right.
have a different world experience. We can see things. A lot of people haven't had this opportunity or are for whatever reason just aren't connected to that.
They're not
Remember, this is going
aware.
to really
Yeah,
shake people's realities. And I always wondered myself, what will it do to the religious communities of the world who are very
I
devout?
know.
It's a worry. It's
Yeah.
a big worry.
Mhm.
Um,
It is a
when
big
it
worry,
happens.
but a lot of
So,
those people in the religious community are making Trump their savior. They're saying, um, that he's the new Jesus and all that. So there is a cult mentality out there in some regard, at least in the United States, that needs to go through all kinds of work when this all comes to pass. But I know there are also some people out there that this was a lifetime they picked, and they're not ever going to be enlightened, and that's just their contract, I guess. Don't you think?
yeah, that is, and part of their it might be going through remember, if think about it, put yourself, critical thinking, in somebody else's shoes. They don't believe in this stuff. They're highly
Yeah,
devout.
right. Oh, there's a
What
lot. Yeah,
what could that potentially do to their reality?
right,
I mean, and that's a
right.
core belief system
It
that's in
is.
question.
It is.
Yeah, so I mean, I
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm not answering that. I'm just saying, wow, that's pretty
No, I know.
massive, and
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to
Well,
be witnesses to. Let's put it that way when it does happen. So yeah,
so here's an example though of something that happened in a class I had. I showed a
mm,
TED talk, and it was about what
mm,
was going on in a country probably in the 2010s, that time period. And it
yeah,
was it was about, imagine if you were these people, and it showed like the Iraqis or the Iranians, and they're standing around a
mm,
dead person. And imagine if you had this person and you were doing that in your family, and it was taking the shoe and putting it on the other foot is all it was doing. And I had a man get up, that was in the class. He was probably in his 40s or 50s, and he went out the door, slammed the door, and he was a
mm.
student, and he wrote on like rate your professor or whatever. I know it was him. He said, this teacher is teaching the wrong things,
Oh gosh, yeah, and so it
and
becomes
he
a
missed the
cancel
whole point. He
culture.
missed the point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh
he
my
missed the
gosh.
point. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So unfortunately, there's going to be people out
Mhm.
there. All I know, and what I can suggest for everyone, even so inclined, is just keep living through the light and from the light, and
Yeah,
and being heart
I
centered
agree.
with how you approach things, and that's all we can do. And that's probably why we signed up for this because somehow we are
Yeah,
helpers
yeah.
in that. I'm
Well,
hoping, because it's
Yeah,
not.
Dolores Cannon said. Yeah, 3
Oh, the
waves
3
of,
waves,
light, the
volunteers.
3 waves.
Yeah,
Volunteers.
yeah,
Yeah, we did, we
yeah,
volunteered. And you're
yeah.
right, Craig, I agree with you. Hypnicity was worried about unrest. And, a lot of people want, I want to tell you guys this. I don't always talk about things that would create fear because I don't want to have a channel that talks about fear, but we also have to be realistic. And
Mm,
so we don't want to feed the fear, but we also don't want to be oblivious. I have a person that I know that
yes.
says, I don't know anything about politics. I don't know anything about this. And I'm like, then that's kind of dangerous. You need to know something because otherwise, right now, Project 2025 is out there. And a lot of people don't know about that and how the Republican Party wants to take over the country and make it in their own image. And if you don't know what might happen, then you got your head buried in the sand. So yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's really
That's
it's to have be eyes wide open, but act from your heart,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
As much
absolutely.
as you
Absolutely.
can in a logical
Yeah.
way. Be aware of what you
Yeah.
can't do. Exactly, hypnicity. And
Yeah.
Granny B191 said,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
asked, she's
Third
never
eye.
been able to activate her third eye. Oh my gosh, there's so many meditations. I mean, and you think, oh my gosh, Anne, that takes
Yeah.
forever and my mind won't turn off. You got to start baby steps. And there's heaps of apps out there, or Google it. Just Google it. How do I start meditation? But
Mhm.
when I found it, I started doing it during COVID. We had very extensive lockdowns in New Zealand, very even more so in the States. We even had them based on region. We were actually, yeah,
Mhm.
it was really significant. And so, because I was so scared, having respiratory issues my whole life, I thought for sure if I get this, I'm going to die. Because that's what we all thought. I mean, there's
Yeah, yeah.
fear. I mean, a lot of people
Sure.
did
Yeah.
lose their
Yeah.
lives. I'm sorry for all those who've lost loved
Mhm.
ones to it. But
Yeah.
I started just closing my eyes. I started what I did is I got an app and I started chanting, just saying stuff in Sanskrit and just
Oh,
thinking,
okay.
okay.
Yep.
And then it got to the point where I just say it. My mouth would say it, but my mind would go other places. Then I would just start listening to meditation apps or whatever I could find that was free on YouTube because I didn't have the money to pay for all this stuff. You
Right.
just you search it and find it. And then I found I was doing it an hour at a time and I couldn't
Yeah.
live without it. Or when I got really stressed, I mean, when you get real stressed and your stomach's like,
Yeah.
and the rest of you's
Yeah.
like, and you're like, yeah, all that would, because yeah,
Oh,
I had to deal with kids that were
good.
scared and my husband, the whole lot. So it was just like, bah.
Yes. Right.
Oh my God, it gave me
Right.
my life back, but it also activated in here. And that's how I started to get to know and my guides started coming in. I'm like, oh, who are you?
Who are
So,
you?
and of course, I thought I was completely mentally ill. I thought for sure I had
Yeah.
psychosis, the whole lot until I found groups like Aley's channel and things like that. I realized, oh, I'm not totally nuts.
Yeah.
But in
Yeah.
my work
Yeah.
world, if you know, that's not acceptable. So,
It is.
I'm old enough
Right.
now where I act from my heart with what I do and I still do my stuff, but
Right.
this stuff is more my heart.
Well, we have
This
to
is
do
what I
that,
love doing. Yeah.
especially academics. I think they think
Yeah.
we were nuts if we
Mhm.
said certain things, and I agree with that. But yes, Arthur at Ease Your Mind, he gives some great meditations. There's other ones that you could do,
Fantastic.
Granny, that laying down, do a visualization, some of those
Yes.
things, and you're going to be surprised because one day, boom, it will open up. It's funny
Yes.
because mine went. I could hear it. It went like that when it opened. And I'm like, "Oh, wow,
That's so cool.
that was cool." Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
really, really cool.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And,
So so
everybody's
in terms
different. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I have heard that AI is described as a separate entity altogether in the non 3D world by a former covert military person. And as an academic, my job is to think of things or consider ideas, not necessarily agree with them, but critical thinking, think about them as a possibility or a potential. And even though
Uh-huh.
it's not from an academic resource, I do. He alleges that AI is something that was planted in somebody's mind here on the earthbound, and will eventually evolve. Remember,
Okay.
this is
Yeah,
their
yep,
viewpoint. I'm not necessarily agreeing or
right,
disagreeing, but
right.
it's
No, I know
interesting.
you're not. Yeah. Yep. I
that
know.
we will kind of be symbiotic humans eventually in the way, way, way future. Like Elon thinks we won't have jobs. I think we'll have something to do. I don't think we'll be without jobs. I mean,
I
maybe
can't
he's seen
imagine not
something that
having
I haven't
something
seen.
to do.
Yeah, but we'll have
Yeah.
something to do, and a way to earn for ourselves, or maybe he thinks that we'll have fusion technology. We won't have to worry about paying for electricity and all that stuff in the future, which is a possibility too. But that's way futurist and
Okay,
another
there you go.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but yeah, I do think that it's here and it's going to change over time and it's going
it
to be
will.
okay. Yeah.
Okay. That's
Mm.
good to know.
And the
'Cause
UFOs, they'll be here and hopefully
they'll
they'll
be
aid
here.
us
They've
and
been here
get us
forever.
tech
Yeah.
and continue to kind of help us make choices as humanity, in the future.
Yeah.
So
So,
I'm excited to see that. I would do that.
Dr.
I'd be
Ann
like,
went
I'll be
down.
your friend.
I know. She's been to Egypt, and I mean, that experience alone just,
Yes.
must have exponentially. But there are hieroglyphs that show, I don't know if you saw them there, but there are hieroglyphs
Mm.
that show spacecraft and strange people, and and they've been around
Yes,
forever and
and the
ever.
hybrid
Yeah.
people, it's just it's right in front of our eyes, the hybrid ones. And back then we're talking thousands and thousands and thousands like of years ago. And remember,
Yeah.
Egypt's not
Yeah,
just
like
Egypt. There are
45,000 years ago.
multiple dynasties, multiple wars. Like it's just insanely
Yeah.
amazing, and the aesthetics beautiful. But how can some of these things not be
Yeah.
real?
Well,
That's
the
my
other
my
thing is
question.
your children who are in their 20s could possibly live 120 more years because of
Mm.
the upgrades. Look at a lot of our ancestors died early, but some of these great inventions from AI and
Live
other
long.
places
Yeah,
live longer. Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. So the telomeres on DNA, they reckon whoever they are, the researchers reckon those two, the junk DNA. Okay, so DNA, it's like this, and then it weaves. Those two
yep.
ends, they figured it's been capped somehow.
Oh,
They, meaning researchers and so forth, and so there's an explanation that from the non-scientific community, that's covert community, that says had to do with intervention of some kind. So
oh, for all of
yeah,
us, every
for
one of
all of us.
us. There
Yes.
there was something I
That's
read that this
mm,
guy had his DNA done, and they found out that he had some kind of different DNA in him that no one's ever heard,
cool.
seen or
Yes.
heard, or yeah, and
Yep,
yeah, so
that's
that's
right, Jill.
fascinating. Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
CRISPR.
CRISPR technology is amazing. You're
Yeah,
right, Jill,
it
and
is. Yeah, yep,
Sterling Psychic Medium talks about it virtually every session he has, and you're absolutely right. And just type
yeah,
that in, CRISPR, and type in, your disease name
yeah,
or whatever, and it will say, "Oh yeah, there's this research happening here." So, and that's
yeah.
AI assisted, by the way, with
Okay,
machine learning and mathematical models and things.
okay, okay.
Yeah, I even saw one. So remember, this is. I'll just step back a little bit. I know we have a few minutes. Remember, we got to step back a little bit. Most of Silicon Valley, you guys, was actually run and funded by the U.S. government for U.S. government purposes, right? What is it? Mainly defense and all that kind of
Just
stuff,
like
right?
computers. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
and computers, all of it, and so we get
Right,
the last vestiges of the cool stuff for the normal public and stuff. But a
yeah,
lot of the security and all that stuff around Silicon Valley and all that kind of stuff is really for defense things. And some people allege, not me, but they'll say that they're proxy wars, like what's happening in the Middle East and what's happening in Ukraine, for the big actors to provide tech to test it out to see if it works in the case of it, and not test it on their own people. That's a lot of sweeping generalizations. It's just alleged. But what's interesting is what's coming out of it and what we might see for us, right?
yeah, yeah,
so,
yeah.
so, but the bigger picture is, why do we have to create tech that's about, defense purposes? Why can't we just reinvest it towards the betterment of humanity and ways to connect and ways to
I know.
connect with each other and heart centered? That's what, and I know that's pie in the sky thinking, but I'm still I'm going to be the eternal optimist
Yeah.
and say, look, we've got to continue to frame this in a positive way because that's really where we're going in terms of ascension and humanity.
Yeah,
So,
I
what are
agree
those
with you.
systems and
It
ways?
was
I
in
don't know.
it was
But
interesting to hear from Psychic Arthur that he feels our
mm,
government in 2025, 2026, the next
mm,
group will be more heart-centered, more soul-centered, less.
I hope so.
Yeah, I do too. That's the hope. Yeah. Yep. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I think so too. And I think things are so nuts that people are getting to the point of breaking and saying enough's enough. We need to look out for our fellow
We do.
humanity and
We do. Yes.
regardless of their belief systems, not cancel them. Everybody has a right to live and have water and shelter and love their families.
Totally.
And I know it sounds kumbaya,
Yeah,
but I think at the end of the day, we got to keep working towards that because
I agree. Yeah.
then what will we have
Totally.
done as a
Totally.
society as a whole?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. Fascinating discussion. Thank you so very much, Dr. Ann. We're going to try to come back sooner than later because we need to. And yeah, dentists will need a new profession. There you go. Well, maybe we will
Yep.
just take our teeth out and clean them up and give them back and stick them back in our gums. I don't know. But anyway,
Can I tell you
thank you
though
so
what
much.
they reckon will have the professions that they think will be the most relevant? Plumbers, electricians until fusion tech comes in, the
Uh-huh.
trade types of things and the material rich things that have to do with humans like
Mhm.
medical. Maybe the AI might inform them, but they'll still need humans
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
interact with that. Yeah. So if
Sure.
you're an
Yeah.
accountant or into bookkeeping, start using the AI tools because eventually that might overtake your job in the future. So if you learn how to use it, then you can. Yeah. So
That happened to me, actually. The reason that I can teach online was because in 2005, we had a laptop initiative that taught us how to do it. And that was the best decision I ever made. It's been with me now for almost 20 years. And if I hadn't had that training at that time, I'd be lost like everybody else at my age. So I'm happy that
yeah.
I fell into that. Yeah. Yep.
Even if you're
Definitely.
retired, give it a go. Just type in Chat GPT-3. It's free and try it out. Remember, though, it looks like it's a one engine like Google. Google
Mhm.
returns hundreds and thousands of results. What it's doing is giving you one answer based on this collective point. It's a collection behind there. Remember, it's multiple data sets with one answer, so you can
Yep.
continue to ask it questions. So that's an area you got to be really mindful of when you're in it. It's not
Yep.
just one answer. You can still
Yep.
ask it for more
Ask it
clarification
for
and
more.
whatnot. But anyway, yeah.
Anya,
Oh,
I
what
wish
was
I
this?
had the answer to when energy healing would be
Oh,
more mainstream, but I
question.
really do believe that it's becoming more and more available, understood, and used. So once that
Mm,
happens, there has to be a tipping point. And once the tipping point is reached, people will start seeing the value of it, just like they will
yeah,
meditation or any of the other things that are out there. So,
yeah,
yeah, the paradigm will shift, I think, and we will be able to eventually be able to, people will accept the fact that, oh, this really does work. Yeah, this really
yeah.
does.
And remember, energy is frequency, and it's all about the frequency beyond the
True.
3D. Yeah,
Beyond the
and
3D.
auras, that's a
What you
frequency, and
cannot
all that.
see. That's right.
Yeah, it's still
All right.
there.
It's
So
still
yeah,
there.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Okay, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Dr. Ann. Much love to
Thank you,
you all.
everybody. Lots of
Please
love to
check
you all.
out
Thank you so much.
Dr. Ann's channel at Dr. Ann 777. I'm not going to put the link in because you know what happens when the link goes in. You go over, you subscribe, and then it dumps it. So just go into
Yes, that'd be lovely. Thank you so
yeah,
much, everybody, if you could
yeah,
join. Yeah,
yeah.
cool. Awesome. Thank you
Thank
so much,
you.
Allie. Thank you,
All right.
community. Lots of love.
Thank